What is up, guys? It's your boy AC3Fan52, and y'all with another banger of a video. Today we're going to be doing something interesting. You guys have watched my videos before. If you have, you will have seen my 2K20 simulation of historic GOAT teams. I've done 3 teams so far. I might continue that series if you guys do go show it some love. This is not one of the teams I've posted. I don't think I will. I have simmed it, but I'm going to be doing the pretty much the 90s Bulls. This is the 92-93 Bulls, so this is not when they had Dennis Rodman. Jordan was in his 30th. He was 30. Pippen was 28. You know, they had Horace Grant instead of Dennis Rodman. Just a brief summary of what happened on my sim with the Bulls, because I don't really feel like I need to post that. It was pretty bad. They made it to the playoffs 3 seasons in a row. Congrats for a team that won 3 straight championships in the 90s. They got eliminated in first round twice. Both times they were top seeds, and then the other time they got eliminated was in the second round of the playoffs. They never made it to the conference finals. Most of them were sweeps. I don't think the other one where they made the second one was like a 6-game series, so even then it was not anything crazy competitive. So it was really disappointing to see a team like the Bulls go from all-time dominant to barely a fringe playoff team. Great regular season team, just couldn't perform in the playoffs. And that was, I did the 96-97 Bulls, the 92-93 Bulls here, and I did the 90, like the early Bulls. I did every classical version of the Bulls team with MJ on it and Scotty in the squad. None of them worked out well. I didn't really want to have to go through edit, do the montages and everything like that to just say they failed miserably. So yeah, I'm going to be rebuilding them. I think I'll do this with more of the teams I simmed. Like the Lakers and the Celtics, and I think that the Heat, or I might not have posted that yet. I don't know exactly what I've done so far that I've posted, so yeah, I'm going to be going through and rebuilding them after I've done the sim, or after I've posted a video on them, or I'll just do them for fun. But we'll be starting off the 1993 Bulls. They're not super young, so they're not going to develop crazy amount. I have to worry about them dropping off, but they're not old enough to where they're going to regress crazy amounts. Yeah, so this is going to be kind of interesting, inserting them into the modern era, and as usual, my usual settings, you know, injuries off, trade restrictions like recently signed, recently traded, the step-in rule, all off, but I have done something different where I turned the trade frequency up to 70 instead of the normal 50, because I do want to see the league change a lot more than it does, to make it more interesting. Injuries off, of course, as usual. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else that really changed, but I also, what I will start doing with these is I will be taking the draft classes from the year. So this is the 92-93 Bulls, so I did the 93 draft class, Chris Webber, Penny Hardaway, and Baker, you know, guys like this will be coming into the league as we do this. Sean Bradley was in this? Ooh. Allen Houston? What you know about him? Nick Van Exel, Nuggets legend. Yeah, so that'll be kind of interesting to see. So in what 3 seasons we'll have the 96 draft, which was Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, a couple other guys. Yeah, wasn't it? I want to think, was Steve Nash in that? I don't remember for sure if he was or not. I might be wrong on that, so don't check me. Well, do check me. So yeah, first things first, obviously MJ is untouchable. I mean, he's Michael, and what are you gonna really do about it? Scotty, maybe not. Maybe he doesn't do crazy good in 2K, averages around 15 points a game, not anything special. I might flip him for if we can get a good deal. But as usual, I'll just be going through, moving people to where they're worth the most and flipping them. Everybody else other than those 2 are absolutely gonna get traded because I have no reason to keep them here. And then it's just pretty much a normal rebuild. I will keep you guys with me for the first trade of the video, then after that it's going to be purely montage, so get ready for that after this trade's done. For the first trade, I am going to be flipping Horace Grant and maybe a couple picks, see what we can get for him. I don't expect anything crazy, maybe a decent, like Zach LaVine or something like that. D'Angelo Russell would be a good pickup. If he does pop up, I doubt it. Yeah, like guys like Brandon Clark. I shouldn't say. Zach LaVine would be a stretch if like that was the best scenario possible. As a player like Zach LaVine, who's good but not somebody that's gonna alter your franchise dramatically. Let's propose a trade then. So obviously, if we're gonna do this, I need a good point guard, first and foremost. And starting off with that, we could get a guy like Derrick Rose would be super fun. I don't think he's worth a crazy amount too. Jamal's worth too much. We could go after him, but he's worth a lot. Instead of scoring and playmaking, what is defense looking like? I want some good defense too. Shark Bledsoe, you know. D Rose, yikes, disrespect. Maybe I'll trade for De'Aaron. De'Aaron, I think, would be a good fit with this squad. They would acquire 3 mil. Alright, we can get rid of 3 mil like that. Yo, Pharrell. Oh, really? 500k? That's what's keeping you from doing this? Alright, we'll take Alex Len then. I'm feeling like keeping this year's pick. I don't know why. We're gonna get a really late pick and probably not be able to get any players that I would actually like. That's pretty useless. Most time I've done a rebuild recently, where I think I rebuilt the 2000-2001 Sixers. If you remember that team, it was atrocious. Allen Iverson somehow managed to carry that team to a good record to a finals, and they took a game from that Lakers squad. God, I'm not giving up anymore for them. That was impressive, but the team was terrible. I rebuilt that team, and it was fun to see. I'm pretty far into the sim by now, and I've gotten guys like, I've drafted LeBron, actually. I made it to 2003, the 2003 draft class, which was interesting. I'm going to try to make a trade. Oh, wait, he doesn't have good defense at all, does he? It's alright. It's not anything special. Russ and MJ on the same squad. Russ and MJ on the same squad. Wow. Oh, wow. Russ and MJ. That explosive duo would be fun. That explosive duo would be super fun to watch. I love how Marvin Bagley's untouchable and De'Aaron Fox is just up there for grabs. Building. Scottie Pippen. How are the Nuggets rebuilding? This is always the most ridiculous thing. The Denver Nuggets, for some reason, are always rebuilding. Let's see. Nuggets, Jamal Murray. It's a bit of a stretch, but I think we might be able to pull it off. Sadly, his defense isn't going to be great, but he's a young star who can pass the ball well and pretty much do everything you need well. Jeremy Grant's the next guy. He's worth a bunch, too. Where I think we're on even ground now. Another pick. One more. How about it? Boom. Just got Jamal Murray on the squad. A good passing, shooting point guard. I think that'll... I don't know. I might have it include on all these because I think I might just be a one-year rebuild. So yeah, I think I'll talk to you guys for this, actually. Save me some time on editing. Sure, why not? It's going to be a bit of a longer video because of it, but I think it'll be alright. So yeah, we just got Jamal Murray here. He's a pretty good player. I shouldn't say not anything crazy good. He is really good, in my opinion. Pretty underrated as a guard. Personally, I have him in my at least top 13, 10-ish. That is coming from a Nuggets fan though, so take that with a grain of salt. And then also, I also have to admit that Jokic, this Nuggets team is really underrated. Like, it's bad how underrated this team is. We're a contending team in the West that has one player over 30 who is Paul Millsap. Like, that's insane. That's really good for a team like us. And the fact that we get overlooked for a lot of stuff is, and the fact that our players get overlooked. Like, Jokic was what? Top 4 in MVP, and yet he's not even... Wasn't he like an all-star reserve this season? I think he might have been. It's just sad, but... anyways, past that team, back to this. We don't need a small forward, we need a power forward or center, which I know I'm flipping Boogie, but he averages decent numbers, I think. He averages like around 25. If you trade him to the right team. I've seen him do it before. But yeah, I don't really need him here. I don't need another guy who doesn't shoot threes. God. For power forwards, it's not a crazy amount of insane ones that you can trade for without giving up everything. Zion, impossible. Jaren Jackson Jr., pretty much impossible. Brandon Clark's interesting case. I will not trade for Christian Wood, by the way. Recently, I've done that in a lot of rebuilds, and I physically cannot sign him back the next season because I don't have bird rights to him, and he's unrestricted. Hey, Mel. Would you be willing to give me John Morant for, you know, John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. for a boogie and a couple picks? I feel like that's a good deal for both sides. Why is this guy worth anything? Alright, I'm willing to give up a lot for Jaren because he's super good. Take my second rounders, please. I will be doing, by the way, quick plugged channel that you're watching. I guess that doesn't really count. But quick thing, I will be doing a really soon my team update. It hasn't been crazy long since the other one, but I've made some drastic changes and improvements to that team, and I'm sure you guys will be amazed what I've done to that team so far. It's been impressive. We've acquired a lot more talent than I thought we could. We need to flip for picks. I'm gonna do that real quick. Ooh, 1, 2. One offer for those two guys. Jeezums. Give me a pick. Nobody's gonna give me a pick. Willie Herman Gomez is worth a lot as a power forward. Second round pick. How great. Yeah, looks like Willie Herman Gomez is the move here. Make him power forward, becomes an 80 overall. Think. Alright, now we need to trade maybe 3 players. 2, 3. The most value here is from the Timberwolves, technically, so yeah, I'll take this. Hold on. If they want a second round, oh no. Oh no, they want to take one of our second round picks. God. What? No. What will I do about this terrible atrocity? I could not possibly handle it. But yeah, this will be interesting to see. I think it's fun to kind of rebuild these all-time teams. Well, not all-time, but classic teams. I should probably do some more all-time team sims to see how dominant some teams are compared to others. Like a team like the Celtics, I think would be interesting because yes, they have a long history of great talent, but they don't have a lot of players with the sense of 2K dominance. Like, you know, they shoot a lot, they score a lot, and they don't play insane defense. Like, that's kind of what 2K favors. If you've watched, actually, if you haven't watched this, I'm guessing somebody else has it. But as I watched the sim here, I noticed players like Scotty didn't score much, or Dennis Rodman was rebounding at an insane rate, but only averaged 5 points, which might be accurate to real life, because he wasn't an insane offensive player. He's just a great rebounder. But he just didn't have the same impact on the court as he did in real life, because this game does not value defense as much as it does offense. So the fact that they had a guy who just did that and nothing else, and it limited them severely, of course. So that was interesting to watch. As it went on, it became pretty obvious what was going on, but still, though, it was fun. It was fun to see how weird the 2K sim is and how unrealistic it is most times. Like, I don't really take any sim I sim this seriously. Like, if you're using 2K to make a point about what team is better, you're doing it wrong. Because 2K has a broken sim, and every definition of the word broken sim, it does not accurately depict really anything. It is not great. Like, and it's interesting. I've seen this game kind of break down a couple times. Like, one thing I will say, if you have watched my other video, I think this happened one pretty recently. I was rebuilding a team, and I tried to do it without the stepping or without the trade restriction on recently signed and recently traded. And what ended up happening was I couldn't add players, but the CPU would go through and add players like that had recently traded and recently been signed, and it would do this regularly, and it would make me furious because I couldn't trade those guys. But as soon as the CPU team made a counteroffer with them in it, they were fine. They like it was acceptable. Like and that drove me nuts because I couldn't make good trades because the second I took an asset out and put it back in, it became illegal. And it became to the point where I just put the rule, I just disabled the rule entirely because it's like I can't use this, but the CPU can just throw it out there whenever it feels like. Like that's not how it works, and that's just insane to me. It's pretty bad. Sim engine. Things like the social media thing, I don't know why that is still a thing. That is one of the most prevalent, well, not prevalent, but the most common complaints you will see out of any people in the My League / My GM community is social media is absolutely useless in every sense. Nobody looks at it. It is a feature that takes up screen space. That's all it is. Whenever you see something like that, it's not like, oh, I love what this guy said, and I like what this guy says sometimes. No, it's like, I could care less, you know. Nobody's here for the great social media feature on the side of it. That's not what you'll see. But what 2K does is they keep it in there, so it takes time to load in longer, so people go to PC version of it now, which is something that has become, that was a meme when it first started, but now it is the norm. It has become a norm overnight because people realized how much faster it was. Because we were just so used to being slow all the time. People got tired of it, so they switched to PC. And now console is becoming less and less relevant. It is not great to see. Not what you love to see. Can I get one first rounder? Tomorrow I could flip for a lot. And Yakapurtle, yeah, no brainer. Two great players. I don't know why Damari is so much easier to trade for than anyone else that has his exact same overall. I guess it makes sense from like how his last 2 years in his 2 or 3 years. I should say last one single season. I shouldn't say 2 or 3. It's been one season, let's be honest. One season of him not performing at top 3, top 5 shooting guard level. Like, that's something that's been crazy to me, is to watch how DeMar's career has gone down. Like, yeah, we all acknowledge he choked at the playoffs quite often. Like, it was not fun to watch, to just see him not show up at all in the playoffs so often. It got kind of humiliating for Raptors fans because of the whole LeBron thing. So seeing him just go from like, oh yeah, well he kind of chokes a lot, to no, he sucks. In one season of him getting traded to the Spurs was kind of weird. It was just weird for me. It was a different power dynamic than we were used to. Because, like, you know, you think of DeMar DeRozan's time in Toronto, it was amazing. He was leading his team to the best record in the East, franchise records, stuff like that. That's what he was doing. And then now it's like, oh, you think of LeBronto. That's all you think of right now, is LeBronto, choke artist, stuff like that. That's what you think of. Yeah, it's not like it's unwarranted, but still, like, we don't acknowledge that he was at one point a good player, and that amazes me. I hope he doesn't get forgotten throughout this decade because of how it ended. I hope he doesn't. Because he is a great player. He is absolutely amazing player. Fantastic player for the first part of his career. Just put in the wrong era. He's a perfect example of a player who, if he would have played in the maybe 90s to 2000s, would have been great. Because, first of all, before LeBron showed up, there was decent small forwards and forwards, stuff like that, 3s and 4s, but there wasn't anything like DeMar. Like, DeMar would have been a star, I think, back then. So I think that he was just kind of a victim of era. That's one thing that era, I think, is kind of just thrown out of the window, is of how inflated somebody can be in that era because of the play style that was afforded them. Like somebody like, I don't know, or maybe like Dikembe Mutombo. We've seen it with guys like Clint Capella. He's become less and less valuable with teams like the Rockets. Literally not even. Like Clint Capella right here. Like, he's been kind of just passed around because they need a rim protector, yeah, but the same time, we've gotten to the point in the league where we can have teams without a center on its roster. Just a 6'9" center, well, power forward / small forward who plays in the 5 spot that holds it down because we want to shoot more threes and be faster on the fast break. Like, that's crazy. Oh my god, how much do we need to give up? So that's kind of an issue. Era, stuff like that. DeMar, he is... God, and that whole trade situation was terrible. Them just being like, oh yeah, you're not traded, and then... like, what was it? I don't even know how long it was after they said that to him. Oh yeah, by the way, we traded you. And that kind of, like, yeah, he got traded to a great organization, whatever, but you gotta look at it. He lost his best friend, a city that he loved and was willing to stay for the rest of his career. That's something that people forget. Toronto is not a tourist attraction. It is not a place where players are dying to get in for. People are trying to get out as soon as they get in. And then they just throw away a guy who was willing to spend his entire career in that place, and they're like, eh. Like, yeah, he got a championship. I'm sure Toronto is absolutely amazed they got that championship. Like, they're happy about it. Whatever, DeMar got lost in the process. Oh my god, we just finally got a player. So yeah, I'm sure they're fine with the consequence of losing DeMar. But still, you gotta admit, that was kind of a low blow to him. Like, he was the face of Toronto for so long. Like, Air Canada, like, not Air Canada, but the Toronto. Like, just that nation. For basketball, he was the face of. And that was amazing. Because they needed a guy like that who's willing to stay through the bad stints, the good stints, everything in between for that team because he loved the city. He loved the country. He loved to be up there, and that's gone now. Kawhi left you after one season, and yeah, you guys are doing great, but I don't know if you guys are going to win another ring. So I guess if you're fine with just getting that one ring and getting rid of a guy who is loyal to you, it's all good. All good in the grand scheme of things, I guess. It's just odd. Just odd. It's weird to me. I cannot imagine that happening. God. Marcus Smart and Nass, that's the deal. Pretty much just because Marcus Smart's a god off the bench. Low key, high key. Let me think. I'm looking to make this a 1-year thing, which is absolutely possible. Trust me. I've done a lot of these trades, these rebuilds in one season, and had just been success. And since we have Michael Jordan, I think that we should be able to get this out easy. Brandon Clark's here. I'll take him. Why is a Ness worth so much? Alright, so Brandon Clark might be our backup power forward or small forward, depending. Or we might move him to starting power forward and make Porzingis a center if we can trade for a better center at all. Pop my leg. Center is hard position to trade for. Difficult. Aldridge. I'm actually cool if we can get Aldridge for really cheap, and then flip him to power forward, and then move, like, we're gonna have to get a bit more salary cap, but then move Porzingis back to the 5 spot. I think we're cool with that. Yeah, I'd be cool with that for sure. God, so many weird careers. This playoff series is gonna be interesting. There's people that say this will have an asterisk no matter what. I don't think that'll be true. I know the constant argument is that if LeBron wins, Jordan fans are gonna do this and call it, be like, oh, but it doesn't count because it was during this, and this. I don't know how long that'll last. I think, like, hardcore people that are like, oh, this doesn't count at all, and they will go through and remember this for years and years and years. Like, we forget, like, I think this first ring 2012, that was a lockout season. People at first discounted it because of the fact that it was a lockout season, and then we forgot about it. We're just like, oh yeah, LeBron has 3 rings. And that's good. That is fine. Absolutely. It shows how little that matters to us in the grand scheme of things. It shows, like, oh, in 5 years, we're going to forget about it. Because it's just, he still won. He still faced the best and still was a victorious. Like, that's what matters. And this season's going to be interesting because, yeah, the whole COVID thing is going to eliminate a bunch of players, but, you know, it'd be the same thing as an injury. That's literally what happens if you get injured. You're more likely, but it's still exactly what an injury would be. You know, it can happen at any time to any person, and if it happens, it severely limits the team. Like, if, like, Russell Westbrook, or what was it? No, it was James Harden got COVID. If he had, like, broken, I don't know, his ankle or something, not saying that's similar, or like the same thing, but it is close to the same scenario. It's random. It's gonna be like, oh, but would he have gotten past this Rockets team if they had James Harden healthy? Like, that's the same thing. Like, we look at the 2015-2016, not the 3-1 Warriors, so like 2014-2015-ish, like 2015 Warriors, I should say. They beat the Cavaliers in, like, what, 6 games? That was after he lost Kevin Love, Kyrie. We all look back at that now, and we're like, if they had stayed healthy, they would have won that. They would have absolutely won that. And then we were right. The next year they came back and won it, not in dominating fashion. Well, not entirely in dominating fashion from the beginning to end. But yeah, they won it, so we were technically right. Yeah, they would have won it if anybody was healthy, because LeBron showed that he was dominating this team without the rest of... He was dominating the Warriors without the rest of his team, which was impressive at the time. And that's interesting, because yeah, injuries happen, stuff like that happens. You're going to lose key players because of stuff like that happens. Yeah, that's what happens. That's how the NBA works. It's random. It's not fair. It sucks. But if you prevail, you prevail. It doesn't matter what happened in the process. You still won. Might have to go with Marcus Smart. He's making too much money. Making 12 mil. I'm going to keep it in block. When you start off, you need to be making sure... Why are we acquiring 8 mil more? Marcus Smart, and who was the other dude? Small forward. Making Kyle Anderson. Alright, so good turn. Alright, so yeah, like, that's something that we will remember, but still we move on and still say the Warriors got 2 out of 3 rings. That's actually kind of funny to me to talk about, is how the Warriors lost because of injuries, after them benefiting from so many injuries on top of injuries to teams that probably would have beaten them, or looked like they would have beaten them at the time. Like, that is crazy to me how karma did that to them. Like, after just being like, oh, like I said, mentioned earlier, that 2015, you know, Cavs team with just LeBron looked like it was going to take down the Warriors on its own, which was amazing at the time. Because we thought that this team was, you know, that raised questions. That raised a lot of questions on, is this team really a contender? Is this team really going to be dominating like this if they can't handle LeBron with a bench squad? And then, you know, they lost that Kawhi series with Zaza. It was just odd, I will say. And then that Raptors one where they should have just dominated again and swept. They would have easily swept in my mind. As good as Kawhi's run was, no team could have beaten that. No team. Like, if you put, it would have taken MJ, LeBron, and, like, I don't know, Kobe, and then you have a good shot at beating them. Like, it takes all-time greats on that team to help beat all-time greats that were on that team, because you had, first of all, team chemistry on their side, because they'd been together for a few seasons. It wasn't like the 2011 Mavericks, where it was entirely almost a different team. Like, that's the thing, the reason the Mavericks won that series was also because of the amazing coaching and schemes, but also because that entire team was new. It hadn't figured out the situation. Nobody knew what was going on. So they had chemistry on their side for that part of their, for that early part of the Warriors. So putting together a new team, you'd already be disadvantaged because the Warriors had gelled together so quickly and so well that it wasn't an issue. And so, if you were going to take apart that Warriors team, the arms race for talent wouldn't have really worked as well, because you wouldn't find players that were as willing to take a backseat to other players so easily. You know, that was a really rare scenario. I will say that was impressive how well engineered that was. So, that was super fun to watch. It wasn't fun to watch, I will say. Like, that was kind of the worst part of basketball we've seen in a while, was when super teams were, when that super team was formed. I think we all kind of knew that it was going to be a boring, we thought it was going to be like 5, 10 years maybe, depending on how long they stayed together. Like, we thought KD would resign after they won like 4 straight, and then keep going, because he took a pay cut for it. He was willing to take a pay cut to win rings. Why would he not continue to do that? You know? But he didn't. He didn't at all. Instead, he left with Kyrie to form another, well, not super team, but a good duo. A good duo. Because they saw what was going on in Brooklyn and loved what they had seen. With the culture and everything, which is what I think is gonna kind of translate more than the super team era. Because what happened during the super team era is a lot of people got criticized. Like, a lot of, like, KD was probably miserable during the time because he was called the weakest superstar we ever seen, like LeBron did. But you know, it was the way, again, like, people were fine with KD leaving. Well, not all the way fine with it, but it was how he did it to the team that beat him, because of the fact that he didn't tell his, like, who we call a brother, Russ. Like, he didn't do certain things that were needed, or he went too excessive with it. Like, that's something that LeBron went through. And to see those two, I think a player like Giannis will learn if he does decide to leave the Boxers. I don't think he will. I think he'll stay for a while, because I think he is kind of the loyal type in my mind. He earned everything he had in Milwaukee. They gave him every opportunity to develop, and they've surrounded him with good players. They've done everything they can, and still, I don't think he'll leave. I don't think he will. But if he does, he's not going to go to the Warriors. He's not, because what's gonna happen is everybody's gonna criticize him. If he went to a team like one of the most popular ones is the Heat, I can see why. KD and Kyrie just did that. The atmosphere was great. You know, like, everybody loved like what they were doing. It was a feel-good story, and nobody was like, "Oh, how could KD leave the Warriors?" Probably because we didn't like KD at the time. He was a villain, and nobody really liked Kyrie. So when it was like, "Oh, they joined a feel-good group," we were like, "Whatever," you know. And so Giannis, seeing that, was like, "Oh, they didn't get crucified because they left that time." Well, why was this? You know, he's a smart guy. He's going to analyze that and go through and be like, it was because he didn't leave to a team that was already dominating. He left for a team that was on the verge of dominating and had a good feel around, a good vibe. You know, that's why he would probably go to the Heat over the Warriors, because the Warriors have already won so much that if they acquire another, top 3 player in the NBA, could you imagine that? A top 10 player in the NBA again? Like, that's crazy. That he'll be under such heat and such pressure. It'd be too much. But if he leaves to a team like the Heat, with a lot of youth, a lot of talent, a lot of, grind to them, they are the embodiment of hustle and team over talent. Like, that is what they are. Nobody's going to be like, "Oh, how could he?" Because we were expecting him to leave. It's just how he leaves. That's what's going to matter in the grand scheme of things. Not to who, not to where. Because he's going to dominate wherever he goes. I'm convinced of that. He might not dominate as much, because the Milwaukee's a great position for him to be in. Absolutely. They did an amazing job managing him. But if he leaves to a team like the Heat, I think the Heat is the best destination for him to not only win a ring, but win it without it being so heavily criticized. But, that's the one thing. Like, KD right now is, I don't know if he's a top 15 player of all time. I don't know if he is. Because the one ring he got with that Warriors team, he was surrounded by 2 other guaranteed Hall of Famers, and then Draymond, who's a weird situation. He's in a weird situation. He was the glue guy. And we don't, that's always, that's going to be a mark on him for me forever. I won't count him as one of those greats, because he had to join a super team. And not just that, a team that had been the greatest winning team of all time by 73-9. Yeah, they didn't win the finals, but that was in 7 against one, top 2 player of all time, for sure. Nobody can argue that was one of the most insane comebacks we'd all seen. That was insane. He had to give it all for that team to even be remotely close. And then they signed KD, who was like a top 5 player in the NBA at least to some people, and that was so obviously like I'm not gonna count that as much as I would, you know, other championships, like other rings. If he had won with that OKC team, we would have all been fine. We know that was a super team. That was a drafted super team, which is generally accepted. That is generally accepted, of course. But it was just how he did it. How he did it, where he went to, is a factor. Absolutely, it is a factor. You have to be aware of what the team has done to you in the past, what it was perceived like in the recent history. Yeah. Because the Warriors, who had already easily been turned into a victim, people are going to be fine with going back to hating the team they already hated. You know? Like, that's something people will easily do. They're not going to hesitate and be like, oh, I don't know. That was only a 1-year deal. No, they're going to be fine with doing that again. So that's an issue. If it went to a team like the Heat, nobody hates the Heat. No one hates the Heat right now. You know why? Because they're a feel-good story. They're amazing. We love them. It's like the same as Oklahoma City Thunder. If he left that team, if I don't know what their book situation is. If he could, but if he did, you know, Chris Paul and Giannis, we'd love to see that in pick and roll. Like CP3 might get a ring. Like he might get a ring. Like that's insane. We would love to see Chris Paul get a ring. We'd love to see Shai Gilgeous become a championship experienced player that could lead a team on his own finally. After those guys leave, if they do, like even then, like Giannis and Shai Gilgeous, and Shai Gilgeous become an amazing player because he was mentored by a great player like Chris Paul. Like that's some of the things that I think if he went to a team like that, we would be like, oh, that's super cool. I'm glad he did that instead of, you know, going to a team that was built to be a beast. Like like the Warriors, they're on a 1-year vacation. Like let's be honest. Let's be honest. They took 1 year off. Next year, they're gonna have Curry, Clay, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, and James Wiseman, maybe? That is insane. Maybe not even Andrew Wiggins. They might trade him for a superstar. Like, that's the thing. That's what I don't think people understand. This was a 1-year break. The league's parity is still under huge threat. Because that was, again, a temporary thing. Like, hey, we're just going to take a vacation. You guys battle it out. And this year's been one of the best years of basketball we've had. You know, absolutely insanely parity. And then the late Warriors are going to come making it crash down again. And I don't know how people are going to respond to that, you know? So, I hope that if Giannis does leave, he learns from the mistakes of people from the past. That he learns to not just go to a team that like is just winning. You don't go to just team that's winning because you have to look at everything around the team. You know, the atmosphere that surrounds it. The Warriors, yeah, they were that feel-good story. They were. Even that, like, 73-9 Warriors, we were happy for that team. Like, that was great. We knew that Warriors and LeBron, like, Curry and LeBron, like, that was going to be a matchup for a while. We'd love to see that. And then they signed KD, and then everybody flipped on him. Because they had become a superpower, and that's easy to hate on, but we didn't because it was like, oh, they were self-made. It was good management, and then that whole cap thing came around, and then, boom, KD joined the squad. Nobody's beating that team. That is by far the greatest team ever assembled. No one's going to go and be like, oh yeah, I could easily beat that. So, I don't know. What is he good at? Perimeter centric, they don't even do triangle on this guy. Doesn't that suck? I don't think they have Phil Jackson in here. That's one thing that amazes me. Their all-time teams aren't even that well designed. They're good, but I mean, I'm gonna be real, they could be much better, much more accurate. But it's fine. So yeah, I don't know. This season's gonna be interesting. I just hope Giannis does do well. I'm hoping that Giannis learns this offseason. I'm fine if he leaves. The Bucks is not a good place for him to be. I'm gonna be honest. The Bucks are not exactly a team that I would call a modeled franchise for success. So if he leaves, we all expected it, right? We all knew it was gonna happen. It's just how he does it. Don't nationally televise it. Don't go to a team that is already winning an insane amount, or is going to be on track to win an insane amount. Go to a team that is winning decently, is one superstar away from being a guaranteed contender, and has a good situation around the locker room. You know? And don't go to a rebuilding team full of young guys that are not really certain on what they're doing. Like LeBron did. LeBron's gone through a lot of transitions, and he's shown the growing pains of going to different teams. He's exposed that to us, and I'm glad. Like, it shows, like, guys like Giannis pretty much what not to do. It's been, you know, it's been really fun to see. I guess, to see kind of the different ways to approach leaving a team that's helped you develop. Because loyalty is something that we all consider important, I imagine. But kind of see the different ways people handle it, certain transitions, certain moves, stuff like that. But I'm not sure. I'm still on the fence about what Giannis is gonna do. He could leave. I think it's an equally fair chance of him leaving. It does entirely rest on if they make it to the NBA Finals and how competitive they are there. How good Chris Middleton is during the playoffs and everything like that is, it's just all depending on how the team performs around him. Which is never a good standard to have, never is. You know? Because if he leaves, he's got the excuse of, well, I told you, if this team doesn't perform to the standard that I need it to, I'm gone. And then he would leave, and it'd be like, alright, that made sense. And then we'd be like, oh, the Bucks messed up, he was totally justified, which is right. It's right. If the Bucks don't perform, he's got no obligation to stay there. Other than, oh, he should be loyal, alright? He doesn't have to be, like, that's the issue. He does nothing. He should be. He absolutely should be loyal to a team that drafted him, developed him. He is the superstar he is now because of that team. He shouldn't leave it. We all love him to stay there and, you know, get his retired number up there, and he probably still is. I'm gonna be honest. He probably still will get his number retired there. He probably still will be recognized as one of the greatest Bucks players of all time. But it's not gonna be the same as if he won the ring, you know? Like, that was what was gonna happen to LeBron, is he put up some monster numbers there, brought him to some great playoff runs, but never won him that ring. So he left to Miami, and it would have been like, oh yeah, he's getting his jersey retired, but it's gonna be a different relationship. It's kind of like a love-hate relationship now. Because we loved what he did for a few seasons, but then he just left us high and dry. So, and, you know, then he came back. Then he came back and won them a ring, which is important. That is what he needed to do to make sure that that part of the storyline was kept in great condition. It was kept in great retrospective. But, yeah. Giannis is going to have to be very careful what he does. Very, very, very careful. Because a lot of eyes are going to be on what he does, how he handles it. And, I don't know. You might be able to ruin the entire league parity thing. It might just go back to the arms race that happened before, where it was make a super team as fast as possible, see who can dominate the league for 10 years, you know? And we could go back to the Warriors and, I don't know, Lakers playing in every conference final, maybe. Although I think the league's kind of more prepared now. We've had some time to actually develop teams instead of just everybody just rushing for talent. Which is what happened for a while, which is kind of sad. God. Yeah. It's been a rough... That season was rough. I'm not gonna lie, that was probably some of the hardest basketball to watch. It just didn't matter. Like, the regular season didn't matter to anyone at all. At that point, it got to the point where everybody was like, yeah, we know who's gonna win. It's already decided. We know exactly who's gonna win and how they're gonna do it. We just need to get ready for the postseason, see if anybody's even gonna be able to slow them down with what we are worried about. So yeah, that's kind of sad. So yeah, if the back to the original thing with the asterisk on this postseason, I don't think there should be one. I know if LeBron wins it, there will be one, absolutely. It's just kind of how it goes. Kawhi, maybe. Giannis wins one, absolutely not. People are going to be like, it was his first ring. Way to go. If you had a great playoff run, they're going to be like, oh, you dominated great competition. You know? And if the players, star players that are missing on that team, is like, oh, it doesn't matter. It'll be forgotten, but still, I mean, I don't know. There shouldn't be one on this postseason. Because if you walk in, I think, who was it? I think it was a player that said something like this, was, if you walk in with the mentality that you're going to lose, there's no point to even be there, because your mind's already made up. You know, you don't come there to lose, you come there to win. So if you're like, oh, there's no point to winning this, nobody's going to count this, they're not going to drive into it, you know. So I think that if the media and everybody else generally comes to consensus that, yeah, there will be one, a few seasons, we're going to forget about it. And I think that it shouldn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But still. Oh my god. This season has been a roller coaster. It's been probably the best season of basketball we've had in a while. Competitive, fun to watch. So, like, we actually cared what was going on in the regular season. It was a fight for LA. Like, that was one of the main narratives we had coming in. We finally had something, a rivalry other than the Warriors and the Cavs. So yeah, and even that rivalry died out towards the end. I'm gonna be real. That Warrior-Cavs rivalry was the first, I'd say one, maybe 2 seasons. It was truly alive, like truly alive. It was a true rivalry all the way through and through. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. But I don't know. Towards the later seasons, it was just LeBron dominating in the East. It was a strong East, no doubt about it. He had one of his weakest teams he'd had in a while. He was still able to drag him through. Like, it showed, like, it was back to LeBron dragging a weak team to the finals. He had an alright Kevin Love. And half-decent role players. Like, that's what he had. And he was able to drag him to the finals. And make him look competent. Like, that was amazing to see. Like, so many great moments. In his last run in Cleveland, it was amazing to watch. Because he was giving it his all. He was absolutely giving everything he had to win. But he realized it was impossible. He made it to the finals. He had added to his finals resume. But even then. It's been sad to see how LeBron's career went. It has. Yeah, he's at a top 2 player of all time, in my opinion. Number 1, I guess. Because he's just my generation's, like, player. He's my generation's basketball athlete. That's who we watched, who we look up to. When you think about the 2000s, like 2003, well, pretty much 2003 to 2020, it's LeBron. As soon as he arrived, one of the most dominating rookie seasons we've seen in a while. I'm not even going to even announce the All-Star team. I'm going to tell you if he pops up and there's a starter off the bench. What a surprise. So is Scotty. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, like, LeBron had, what, like 6 or 7 years in that terrible Cleveland environment. Absolutely horrendous. It was astonishing to me. Because the argument is, oh, MJ didn't have to join a super team. That's because his management, give me a sec. His management brought the organizational super team to him. Like, he didn't have to leave to get his Scotty. He never had to do that. They got Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen in the same season when they realized how much more they needed to contend. What more talent they needed, they acted on that need, and they got it. Which is what the organization should do. But LeBron had to deal with incompetence for years upon years upon years of his young career. And so he had to drag a sorry Cleveland team to the playoffs. I just still... And then he had to leave. He had to leave because that Cleveland team was going to do absolutely nothing. I'm going to be honest, that Cleveland team was not going to win anything if he would have stayed there. It would have continued to be horrible. The only reason they were good when he returned is because they were able to get lucky and guess on good talent. Like, and even that talent, like Anthony Bennett. Really? Like, 3 number 1 top 3 picks, and you whiff on one of them? Like, really? Like, yeah, you did good. You got Kyrie. An injury-prone scoring guard who doesn't play great defense and isn't exactly the definition of a point guard. He's just a good scorer. You know, one of the greatest handles, if not the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest handles we've ever seen. But, you know, he wasn't going to lead you to any crazy wins. He was a clutch player, too, so that was a great acquire. Anthony Bennett, one of the biggest busts of all time, because there was no outside factor. It was him. It was literally Anthony Bennett. Greg Oden, one of the main arguments that people will bring up, if they don't actually understand the circumstances around that, it was injuries. If Greg Oden had stayed healthy, he would have dominated like he did in college. There's a reason. It wasn't just weights that the Blazers took him. It was because of how dominant he was in college. He was insane in college. KD was good. KD was amazing in college. Greg Oden was a monster in college, and Sanders still dominated the NBA at the time. So, of course, they went with the player that was better in college and fit more of the style of play at the time. Of course I can take that. That was amazing. He didn't have good health, which came out of kind of nowhere, and that really hurt his career. If he would have stayed healthy, he would have been insanely good. So yeah, Anthony Bennett, that was literally his talent alone flopping. Like, that was horrendous. Andrew Wiggins, they would have traded that into Kevin Love, who at the time was insane, but Andrew Wiggins has turned out to be just, again, a good scorer. If anything, that just a player that averages 20 points per game hasn't turned out to be the player, we expected him to be at all. We expected him to have LeBron on the ceiling, and he fell short by a decent margin, too. But yeah. But I'm glad that was one move. Cleveland made a move with a valuable asset for LeBron. That was what amazed me, is they convinced LeBron, we're going to try to be competent if you come here. That's why LeBron went to Cleveland, is because of that Kevin Love trade. I don't know if it was announced. I think it was probably announced after he signed there, because they wouldn't have jeopardized the young player like Andrew Wiggins for him. But if they were making moves on him, and they need to show him, hey, we're not buffoons. We aren't the buffoons like we were last year, or last time you were here. They need to prove it to him. He wasn't just going to be like, oh yeah, I believe you. Because, you know, he had a horrible experience with that front office. It was just terrible. Alright, at the end of the season, 68 wins. Giannis MVP, Jamal Murray rookie, Yusuf Nurkic, Kawhi, Luka, Michael Stepper, 68 wins. Third team, yeah, Jordan. First team on defense, second team on defense, Scotty. Brandon Clark makes the rookie team as usual. So yeah. So that the Cleveland's management has always been just horrendous. It's been average. I'd actually say below average at its peak. At its peak, it was below average. They had one good move when it comes to trades. Drafting, you know what you're getting from your scouts, from your GMs. You have draft boards, analysis breakdowns. You have other people around you making public decisions about who was going to be the first pick. You know, even at the time when they picked Anthony Bennett, he was not supposed to be the number 1 pick. Like, that amazed people. That came out kind of nowhere, but he was a good player. So, it was like, that makes sense. But that draft class at the time was considered weak, so it was like, whatever. What, 5-6 years later? It's a completely different narrative. That draft class has turned out to be super talented. Headlined by Giannis. You know, headlined by Giannis, Bradley Beal, Victor Oladipo. One of those has been, what, probably 7 games. But what, like, that team has been super dominant. Like, you know, that draft class has been absolutely insane on how crazy good it was. So, like, they whiffed and got Anthony Bennett out of a back-to-back, probably MVP, an all-star caliber great scorer like Bradley Beal. And then also, they whiffed on Victor Oladipo, another all-star player, for a dude who averaged like 5 points a game. I think I'm willing to hear for part 1 of just raw footage of the 1993 Chicago Bulls rebuild. I think this is, we went to 7 with the Bucks. Scotty's going to be a great matchup for Giannis, or Porzingis, I should say. I need to work on inside defense a bit more with Porzingis, get him muscled up a bit more. Other than that, I think I'll drop part 1 here. I'll make this probably a 2 or 3 part season. We'll do it by season, so 2 or 3 parts, depending on how long it takes for us to get a win in the finals. But yeah, I think I ended here. If you guys enjoy, please leave a like. I do think I should do more content like this going forward, more raw footage, just me talking about what's going on in the league, pretty much rambling on. Go check out my other content, my career, my rebuilds, my sims, my team updates, which I will be having one come out soon. My career updates, which I will start doing once I finish up with the My Career series, which will take me a while, because, yeah, I gotta go through and edit all of that. But anyways, yeah, this has been super fun. If you do enjoy, please leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. It gives me a huge boost and makes my day, honestly. Leave a comment on what your favorite part of the video was. Comment on any tips, tricks you need from, well, you would like to see from me in the future. Commentary, editing, any equipment you would recommend to me personally. It's been great. It's been great so far, guys. Anyways, hope you guys have a great day, and as always, keep the vibes positive. Peace.